Hello everyone at Tallgrass Film Festival. Thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Magan Stuhr. I'm a member of this year's EPA program, and with us for a very special Q&A, we have guest Valeria Perez. She is a 17-year-old high school student who is a multi-hyphenate artist. As a dancer, actress, vocalist, instrumentalist, and activist, she sits apart unlike any high schooler. She dreams of being a film director and utilizing her platform to advocate for political and daily issues in our society, as well as making films that continue to challenge her creative journey. Valeria has won numerous awards as a pianist and dancer and won the People's Choice Award at the Young Directors Film Festival in Tampa, Florida for her experimental short, Mind Control. And she is the director, writer, and producer for the short film Boys Dance 2. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That was it sounds so nice. Thank you.
So let's get started. What inspired you to make this film?
So growing up, I feel like I've always I've been a dancer since I was 2, and I've also been attending art school since 6th grade. So I always noticed how a lot of these art areas, they're always boxed into you have to act a certain way to be a part of that area, or if you weren't a part acting a certain way, it just seemed very abnormal. So especially when it comes to male artists, when I would see people on stage or in the dance room, friends I knew, they would always feel very comfortable because people would always assume oh, they're gay, or all the boys here are gay because they're dancers and artists. And it just really angered me that there wasn't a better discussion as to how, art is inclusive and art is a language that we all speak. So I feel boxing art into something where it's not as inclusive and it's really just outcasting people in a different way was something that I felt is really damaging. So I definitely wanted to shed light on the issue of Boys Dance 2, because I feel there's just never really been that kind of direct statement within either the dance community at times that I've been a part of, or just even in school, even in communities like my art school. So just bridging that gap of that, it just feels such an unspoken about what's the word, gosh, yeah, it's just an unspoken about stigma that really just can be so damaging. And I feel it's important to make sure that we all remind ourselves how inclusive art can be and how we shouldn't just continue to stereotype people for doing what they love to do.
Yeah, definitely. And what were some of your greatest challenges when making this film, and how did you overcome them?
It was really interesting because so I was filming this, I literally finished filming this right at the beginning when we had to quarantine. So the last week where we were in school was the last week that was the week that we had to leave for the coronavirus. So I kind of, because that was also going to be the beginning of spring break. So just kind of making sure I had all of that together so that we can meet that deadline before the break, just because I knew we were all going to be away, but I didn't really expect for the pandemic to happen. But other than that, honestly, it really was a really great and easy process. I would say the only other challenge would be the technicality aspect of it, because within the last few months, I've grown so much and learned so much more about the technicality of filmmaking because I've never really had any guidance to it. But so now I'm just working on fixing my audio in the film and coloring it more just to make it more professional. So so that's everything is still a learning experience and a work in progress. But yeah, overall, it was really great to just have such a quick process with the dancers and the crew I was with, and how on board everyone was really quickly.
Yeah, and did anything unexpected happen while you were creating the film?
Honestly, not really. Besides a pandemic striking, literally right, because we were planning on reshooting or doing something extra, but then that happened. So I would definitely say the pandemic, but that's for everyone.
And what about the film do you think you're the most proud of?
Honestly, and this doesn't even come about me, but honestly, the people that were speaking, so the 3 dancers in it, they've been my friends for a while now, and honestly I'm just really proud of them for sharing their stories and for being so honest and taking the time to be vulnerable about their journeys, and it was just such a big learning experience for me to hear their stories, and was really glad to help bring it to light in a platform like filmmaking to share it with other people. So I'm just glad that we were all able to collaborate. I'm really proud of all of us that we were able to collaborate to share such a powerful story that like I know has impacted so many people, and so many like really, really young kids knowing like, oh, like I want to be a dancer, or like I didn't even know that like boys dance and etc. So that's been really exciting that like our art like did that. So
And you go to an arts school, right?
yeah, I go to Osceola County School for the Arts in Kissimmee, Florida, and that's where we all go to school. So that's how I met them. But they all like each have their own different dance experiences and stuff.
So are there a lot of male dancers that go there?
I wouldn't say there's like a crazy amount, but there is, I would say, like a couple like in each class. Yeah, so there's a couple in each grade level.
And how did you choose to interview the three that you did in your film?
Well, I knew them. I knew at least like all of them like for a couple of years at that point. They were all graduating, so I felt like it was appropriate to choose those three specifically because they have matured so much in their like journeys as dancers. Like, and they're all like leaving to college, and they've gone through so many things. And like I feel like knowing that they were at that point, that they would be ready to be like more vocal about it, to pass on like a really good and powerful message to younger dancers who are struggling in those environments, or who feel uncomfortable to take that extra step to step out of their comfort zone and go dance. So yeah.
And what was the film's budget, and how did you kind of film with that budget?
No budget. Student filmmaker here, just still learning and trying to do what I can. So I knew I really couldn't spend as much money. The only money I really spent was in my editing software. But that was just like on my own terms. But so I knew there was really like, I couldn't have a bigger set, but honestly, like I felt like the focus really wasn't on the production, but more on like what was going on, like what they were saying. Um, so it was just easy to accommodate because it was a small group. So that made it a lot easier. It was a really small cast and crew. So there wasn't like needing to like feed people or like find different locations or anything. So I would say like not too worrisome on that part.
And it's about a 10-minute film, and you have dialogue pretty much going over the entire thing. And I noticed that you use music in the background, and you'll cut to videos of the boys dancing. So how did you kind of incorporate those to keep the film engaging?
I just honestly was listening to what they were saying. Honestly, like their points were guiding me to edit throughout the entire thing. So like when they would bring up certain role models in their life, like I knew I would want to show like who those people were, and what they look like, or like videos of them dancing, for example, to show like how they may have influenced these dancers and other dancers in their community. And same with like another really important part for me. I did include like clips during their dance class to show like just how that environment works, because you may think it may be like so separated, but in reality like everyone at the end of the day is just doing what they love and making art. So it's just a really fun and creative environment for most cases. I'm not saying like like that's what every environment is, but I just feel like it was important to show them in their element, because like that's what their day-to-day life looks like, and that's what they want to pursue. So just really listening and letting their points guide me to edit what I feel needed to be emphasized in the film, really.
What's it like to just direct a documentary?
Honestly, really exciting, just because you want to be able to like get such a well-rounded view of like what's going on. Something I was working on like another project for a Black Lives Like Matter documentary this summer, and it was really interesting because like Boys Dance too, you want to be able to not only get like their experiences of how like certain things may have affected them, but like what can they bring on to what can they say to other people from what they've learned, and what are they hoping for like in the future. So just really, I just feel like every documentary I've done, every project, this extends to, I just have learned so much, and it was just really exciting. And I really like documentaries because I just end up learning so much in the process, and watching them too is really fun. And it's
And
such
you
a cool,
film,
sorry, I was just saying like just film, like watching it through a film is like such an enhancing experience. So yeah.
and have you filmed any documentaries before this one?
No, this was the very first one I had done, but it's not the last. So
Mm. It's really well done for a first documentary.
oh, thank you, I appreciate it. It's so nice.
And since it was your first time, how did you decide what questions to ask? Like, was it kind of weird being in a different film format?
Honestly, like what's really funny is I remember I was like laying in bed one night and I was just honestly just like thinking about the topic of like like how there's so many gender stereotypes when it comes to um different like things like sports and the arts. And then honestly the questions just kind of started flowing to my head, like just wanting to know like how have these people been affected within the dance community and what have they learned from it. And I just knew that that was something I felt like needed to be shared with other people. So honestly, like right when the idea and the questions started coming to me, I just started writing them down. um,
And like, how long did the interviews last? Did you have to cut out a lot of footage?
yeah, I would say each interview was about like 20 minutes, so that ends
Wow.
up being like, yeah, like an hour of footage on top of like all of the the b-roll footage, and then you have all the audio pieces and all of the extra um images of like their role models and stuff, of them growing up. So it ended up being like a couple hours of footage. um which even like that was already such a small project, so looking at other documentaries and making it is a lot, but at the end it's worth taking the time to look through all of it, and really like deciding, making these decisions as to what do you feel um, makes the message the most powerful and gives the audience a better understanding of what you're trying to emphasize.
And were there any documentaries or documentary filmmakers that you think maybe inspired you?
Oh my gosh, this is a hard question. Oh my gosh. um, yes, there are. It's not coming to mind though right now. I'm sorry. I'm like, I love so many documentaries, and I can't think of the first one that comes to mind. Um,
Like the name of it or what it was about?
I'm so sorry. I'm going just like brain freeze. There are a lot of documentaries that influenced me to make this. I don't know why I can't bring them that comes to mind. Something that I have been really interested in recently is the Social Dilemma documentary about technology and about
Yeah, I saw
social
that. That was
media.
good.
Yeah, it was really it's just really so surprising, and I feel like filmmaking does such a good job at like really creating such a well-rounded um, like a well-rounded understanding as to what the problem is in such a short and like an engaging way for people to really like visualize and understand like how these things are affecting them in their day-to-day lives, or how can they do better and be better. um yeah, so I feel like that was a really great documentary I've learned so much from. But I did shoot this before that, but there was a specific documentary I can't think of it to mind. I'm just sorry.
That's totally fine, yeah. Uh, have you filmed, would you, the experimental film you made, what was the name of that one? Mind
Oh, so
Control?
yeah, that one was called Mind Control. That one was also a dance piece, actually. I really
Mhm.
do love working with dancers, and I plan to make more films with them in the future. Also because I just really love collaborative art. But that was basically that was my very first film I ever did. And that was more like I had taken a lighting class that year, and I knew filmmaking was something I was interested in. I just didn't really know how to, or where to start, because there's no film program at my school. So one day I was listening to my music on Spotify on shuffle, and like a really eerie like instrumental song came on, and I just kind of, as a dancer, like I just started visualizing choreography. And like I was taking, also listening or thinking about the lighting techniques I had learned, and just kind of putting it together. And I was like, oh, like this would look like really cool together, especially with some like interesting editing along this piece. So I just kind of got like a small crew together quickly, and like it took us a couple of months to shoot it. But in the end, it was just really me like experimenting with like lighting, with editing, with those movements, while creating like a story with no dialogue, which is something I have been really interested in. And yeah, it was really exciting to like see that it's like gotten so much recognition.
Yeah, and well, given that that one's an experimental, do you think that filming this documentary had more or less structure, or was it more difficult, maybe?
I would definitely say it had more structure, just because the experimental one, it really was such an experimental process as well, because I didn't really even have like a set series of shots in mind. Well, I knew what I wanted to do, but it was more being like, okay, I'll try filming it this way and filming it this way, and try doing this the next day with different lighting. Whereas the documentary, I knew like I want this and it's going to be like this. And it really worked that way, like worked really smoothly and it went by so fast. So yeah.
I think that's really cool that you did that. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And could you talk a little bit more on your Black Lives Matter documentary that you're working on?
So that one, I was currently working with a group over the summer where we had, so this was like a couple of weeks after George Floyd was murdered, where we decided, you know, we really wanted to create a documentary about, with Black people in our community or people of color in our community, just their perspective about like, what does Black Lives Matter mean to them? What does being Black in America mean to them? And how can like we as people not only support the Black community, but also what are ways that our like politicians can really enact like real change and like listen to the fact that, you know, like systemic racism and like racial inequality is still very prevalent in America, and it's not something that should be ignored. So that was a really long process, and currently, because I'm working on my college admissions, that's something that right now that the group, they're kind of focusing on more themselves. So I was directing the first half, and someone else is kind of directing the second half. But it was a really great process overall, and I'm excited to see the end product. Again, like everything's like really changed because of the pandemic, so everything's kind of just on the move. But it was really exciting just to work with such a bigger cast and a bigger crew. And it's a lot more footage, but we also combined, a lot of people did their own artistic piece into the Black Lives Matter movement, whether it was a spoken word piece, we had dancers, we had a choir. So just everyone really, like, it was a very vulnerable experience for everyone because not only were a lot of us who aren't like, you know, people of color, like able to listen and really like lift up their voices, but also like for them to say like this is who I am, and like this is a situation that matters and deserves your attention. Even if there are disagreeable aspects like to each side, you know, like this is something that we all need to be united with.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today about your film. It was really good.
No, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
And thank you all at home so much for watching. We really, here at Tallgrass, we all really appreciate your support, and have a lovely rest of your day, whatever time it is for you. And we hope you enjoy the other films that Tallgrass has in store. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.